The workplace, which should be a space of livelihood and fulfillment, often turns into the stage for true tragedies. Over the years, countless workers have lost their lives in brutal ways, in accidents so frightening they look like scenes from a horror movie. From falls on skyscrapers to sudden explosions, from out-of-control industrial machines to fatal human errors, each case reveals not only the danger of the profession, but also how fragile safety can be in the face of unexpected circumstances. That is exactly what we are going to see here today. An underwater maintenance tragedy in the Caribbean involving 4 divers who died after being sucked into a pipeline happened in Trinidad and Tobago in February of 2022. On February 25th of 2022, 5 divers were performing maintenance on a pipeline operated by the Pariah Fuel Trading Company at the port of Pointe-à-Pierre in Trinidad and Tobago. During the removal of an inflatable plug, a sudden pressure difference occurred, creating a strong vacuum that sucked the 5 divers into the duct. Only Christopher Boudrum survived. He managed to crawl for about 3 hours inside the pipeline until reaching the surface. The other 4 divers died. Their bodies were recovered in the following days. Investigations pointed to serious failures in rescue procedures. Pariah did not allow rescue divers to enter immediately, and there were delays in the use of remote cameras and in defining the salvage strategy. A tire repairman ended up dying after being struck by a truck tire that exploded while he was carrying out the repair. The incident happened at a tire shop in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. The victim, identified as Diogo Azambuja da Silva, 20 years old, was hit by the explosion of the tire while working on the vehicle. Even though he was helped, he did not survive his injuries. The video released on social networks shows the exact moment when it all happens. The enormous pressure of the tire upon bursting struck the man full on, and due to the impact, he ended up not surviving. Harrison O'Keefe is the protagonist of one of the most impressive survival stories ever recorded at sea. He was the cook on board the tugboat Jackson 4, which sank in May of 2013 in the Gulf of Guinea off the coast of Nigeria. The ship was at 30 meters of depth, and miraculously, O'Keefe managed to survive for about 60 hours in an air pocket inside the submerged vessel. The Jackson 4 sank due to adverse conditions, such as rough seas and strong winds. Of the 12 crew members on board, O'Keefe was the only survivor. He was in the bathroom when the ship began to sink rapidly. Trapped in a space with a small air pocket, O'Keefe remained in the dark, in freezing temperatures and without access to food. He managed to survive by drinking a little potable water found in a refrigerator. In addition, he faced the psychological challenge of isolation, the lack of adequate oxygen, and the constant fear that the air would run out. Divers sent to recover bodies ended up finding O'Keefe alive. The rescue images show the dramatic moment when he is discovered, already extremely debilitated but conscious. The divers used a diving bell to bring him to the surface safely, avoiding rapid decompression, which could be fatal, and therefore, he had to spend some more time submerged before returning to the surface. Harrison O'Keefe became a symbol of resilience and faith. He attributes his survival to a miracle, considering that he prayed intensely during the period of isolation. A tragic accident happened at the Golden Plains wind farm in Rokewood, Australia. The worker was identified as Jess Patience, a 36-year-old installation technician. He died around 8 in the morning on November 11th of 2024 after being crushed by a turbine blade that was being prepared for installation on the ground. The blade came loose from a support and fell on him, causing his immediate death at the site. The incident happened at the Golden Plains wind farm, the largest wind farm under construction in southern Australia, and the site was immediately closed by the authorities and by the company responsible. The company Vestas, responsible for the turbines, expressed deep dismay at the tragedy and stated that safety is its top priority, collaborating with the investigations. According to technical information, a blade 79 meters long was being prepared for hoisting. It was stored horizontally on a support composed of an upper clamp and a lower one, connected by bolts and pins. When removing the upper clamp with the help of a crane, one of those pins remained stuck, resulting in the blade tipping over and in the tragic accident. This story, although distressing, highlights the value of safety training at work and the importance of quick responses in emergency situations. In a factory in China, a worker was pulled into an industrial machine. Thanks to the presence of another employee nearby, who remained calm and hit the emergency button, the machine was stopped in time to avoid a tragic outcome. The injured worker was helped and taken for medical care. The colleague's familiarity with the emergency button was essential for the quick reaction. Otherwise, the man could be swallowed and shredded by the machine. Many internet users, besides being impressed with the situation, emphasize the importance of working in pairs on machinery with this risk. After all, if the accident happens to one, the other can act quickly and avoid tragedy. Shocking video shows the moment when construction workers in Austin, Texas, run to save their lives as a huge crane collapses. The incident occurred in January of 2018, around 9 o'clock, at a construction site in southeast Austin, Texas. A crane was attempting to lift a large concrete wall when a cable broke, causing the concrete structure to plummet and knock over the equipment. Workers who were nearby instinctively ran to move away. One of them was in an especially dangerous position, on top of the concrete slab, was thrown to the ground, and had to get up quickly to escape. A worker was even trapped under the crane, but was rescued without serious injuries. A specialist noted that the crane model used is more susceptible to accidents during lifting operations, since it has fewer safety devices compared to fixed towers, very likely why the accident happened. Now let's talk about the tragic accident involving Jayton Allen Stallhut, a 20-year-old worker. Jayton worked as a contracted employee of the company EXO, inspecting power poles. During the job, he accidentally touched an energized wire and suffered a fatal electric shock. A colleague immediately began cardiopulmonary resuscitation procedures and called emergency services. The worker was even taken to the hospital, but ended up dying due to his injuries. Friends and family described Jayton as someone who radiated positivity, always with a smile on his face and deeply loyal to those he loved. A campaign was created to help with funeral expenses and to support his family during this devastating moment. A worker lost his life after being crushed by a road roller machine during urban resurfacing works in Roraima, Brazil. The victim was identified as Edmar de Oliveira Campos, 35 years old, a resident of Ouro Preto do Oeste, also in Roraima, Brazil. He was working on the program nicknamed Chao Poeira, a paving initiative. According to witnesses and security cameras, Edmar was walking, signaling the work, and, with his back to the road roller, did not notice its approach. The machine, guided by a colleague, ended up passing over his body, causing his immediate death. Forensics were called, the area was cordoned off, and the body was removed to the medical examiner's office. The machine operator took a breathalyzer test, which was negative. An impressive incident involving a 40-year-old gardener named Samuela Sirivakayawa ended tragically after he was dragged into a wood chipper while working near a school in Sydney, Australia. The accident happened in September of 2019 on the grounds of a school in Sydney's north. The worker was feeding the wood chipper by hand with branches when he was pulled into the machine, resulting in fatal injuries. The equipment was clearly designed to be fed by a mechanical loading system, not manually. There were explicit warning labels indicating this, and even so, the man put himself at risk. In addition, the responsible company carried out a risk assessment and failed to provide adequate training or supervision to workers, and the equipment had several defects. At trial, the court imposed the largest fine in the region's history for a business. Initially, 3 million Australian dollars, reduced to 2,025,000. Judge Wendy Strathdy considered the negligence highly serious. Another tragic accident was the one involving Nicholas J. Marks, who died after falling from a height of 29 stories while cleaning windows in Boston. The victim, Nicholas J. Marks, 40 years old, worked as a high-rise window cleaner. On October 23rd of 2023, while preparing to step into a suspended seat used for cleaning, an anchorage line broke, followed by the breaking of the safety line, resulting in the fatal fall of 29 stories at the building 100 Summer Street in Boston's Financial Center. Surveillance videos captured the moment of the fall, showing the impact, which apparently also damaged the building's parapet. The tragedy highlighted the importance of frequent inspections, adequate training, and rigorous maintenance of the safety systems used in work at height. Another accident, let's say quite tragic, was this one, which happened in Bahia, Brazil. A 53-year-old man who worked at a tire retreading company located at the Trevo de Amargosa junction along the BR-101 highway was operating a machine used for retreading when one of the molds broke and metallic fragments struck him, causing his death at the scene. Local platforms confirmed the death in the context of the Reconcavo Baiano. Videos circulating on social networks corroborate the severity of the incident. Another impressive accident involved Stephen Dierkes, who lost his life by falling into molten metal while working. Dierkes fell into a vessel with molten iron, about 3 meters deep, at a temperature above 1,000 degrees Celsius, approximately twice the temperature of volcanic lava, and was immediately incinerated. The coroner described his cause of death as thermal annihilation. The investigation of the case concluded that the foundry routinely allowed unprotected fall hazards. Workers operated less than 4 feet from the vessels without adequate protection. He left 3 daughters and his partner Jessica Sutter, who harshly criticized the lack of support from the company after his death, stating that Caterpillar showed no compassion for human decency. A 36-year-old Russian woman died in a giant mixer of hot caramel at a candy factory in the city of Stary Oskol. Natalia Memets, mother of a child, was reportedly on the surface cleaning the mixer when the caramel began to gush unexpectedly, and she ended up being pulled into the machine. Colleagues, after realizing the situation, reported that they were unable to help the woman. The melted caramel can reach temperatures well above the boiling point of water. Depending on the final form it will have, no one would stand a chance. 2 hypotheses are considered for Natalia Memets' fall into the mixer. She may have lost her balance because of the caramel, or she may have fainted due to the high temperature at the site. Don't forget to subscribe so you can watch more videos like this.